So one of the biggest questions I get is all about oils. What's the better one to cook with? What is going to be still healthy for me? There are so many different studies and things are coming out all of the time that are contradicting the last one. So it's really, you really have to kind of shake out what you know. There are three different ways that oils are produced. There is an expeller press where they take the big screw and they actually push everything down into the grape seeds and then the oil comes out. There's the centrifuge where they spin it until all of the oil is extracted. And then there's the chemically treated or chemical solvent. So if there's any oil left within those seeds, they are going to put it through a chemical bath to actually get the oil out. Now, in theory, those chemicals are supposed to evaporate. They don't do anything to necessarily separate them, but in theory, they're supposed to evaporate. That doesn't always happen. Typically, that is an issue in something like grapeseed because grapeseed is one of those seeds that are really difficult to get the oils out of. For grapeseed, which is good at high heat, and this one's even refined for the medium-high heat, you really need to be looking for something that says either hexane-free or 100% mechanically pressed, because that one is kind of suggesting that it's 100% mechanically pressed and not that there's any hexane involved. You can't always guarantee that unless it says hexane free. When it comes to olive oil, you really want to be aware and leery. You want to be looking for something like the harvest date. The harvest date is usually on the back, and the better oils are going to have the harvest date. Many of them have a best buy date, and generally that's going to be a little bit less than 3 years, 2.5 to 3 years. It's going to be packaged in a dark bottle. You don't want to see anything that's letting any kind of light through. If the light's coming through, it has a better chance to become rancid on your shelf. You really want to look at where it's bottled. This is a California oil. It didn't have to travel very far. It's a little bit more green and eco-friendly. It's also cold pressed. When you expeller press any kind of oil, you create high temperatures just in the friction. So to be cold pressed now, they are generally under 120 degrees. In Europe, it's going to be 90 degrees or less, but they really try. A better brand of oil is going to really try and keep that cold press so that it's going to keep the nutrients, it's going to keep it from getting rancid, it's going to keep those fats from changing to a healthy fat into a non-healthy fat. Now that being said, olive oil is great for low heat cooking, and it's good for drizzling. When you get into some of the high heat stuff, you have to look out for the fat content. And saturated fat, as bad as that sounds, saturated fats actually will keep their consistency, will keep their properties, and they're not going to turn cancerous. So coconut oil, that is the top for high heat. And then you could do something like peanut oil. I again caution, this is in a plastic bottle. It doesn't tell me that it's BPA free. There are several different reasons why I would not want to get this peanut oil. When we talk about canola oil, as soybean oil and many of those other things, you have the genetically modified organisms, you know, all of those things that are in wheat and all of those buzzword terms we want to really be looking out for right now. You're going to end up with, if it's not organic, you're going to be looking for pesticides, chemicals, all of those things that make a cheap oil. Oils are really not that necessary in our diet unless it's a real healthy fat oil like olive oil, fish oil, sunflower oil, and only in drizzling. When you get to canola oil, you can swap that out in baked goods with applesauce. When you get to shortening, there is not really one use that I can think of anymore for shortening, because that's basically it's saturated fat. But if you've ever seen canola oil made, you can tell exactly where that shortening comes from, and you probably would not want to eat it anymore. So one of the things about shortening is that people don't understand that it's mostly soybean oil. Many people now have really developed these allergies to soy, and they don't realize that they really have it. So shortening could be something that you're reacting to. This doesn't only have soybean oil in it. It has fully hydrogenated palm oil, but it also has partially hydrogenated palm and soybean oils. We know that partially hydrogenated oils are bad for you, so why are you going to actually pick up a can of it and then bake with it or or fry in it or anything else like that. There are all these buzzwords in here, citric acid, which is just a preservative. That's really not going to hurt you in the small amounts that it's in here. But some of the other ones have BHT, which is another preservative. So you're, again, filling more preservatives. So if you're going to do something like this, I like to use ghee, where you just take butter and it's clarified butter, so you take off a lot of those sugars and proteins and you're left just with that butter fat. It sounds like, oh, that's counterintuitive, that's really not heart healthy. But if you're eating a variety of good oils and you're baking with good things like applesauce, and then you're actually doing other things with butter, you're really giving yourself a full complement of everything that you need. There's no sense in only doing shortening, only doing olive oil, only doing ghee, that kind of thing. So keep the variety going.